spoken by Lao Tzu in ancient China, but we find these words in other ancient texts, even in the Bible. He who conquers himself is stronger than him who conquers a city. And so, what does it mean to conquer oneself? But first of all, we need to recognize ourselves for who we are, who we truly are, not putting a projection in front of us, not polishing or refining the image that we have of ourselves, but seeing exactly what moves us, how we behave, how we respond continuously. So the instincts, the emotions, the feelings, the thoughts that are continuously triggered from outside of ourselves, and yet that originates within ourselves in our own consciousness. And secondly, we should stop submitting as a slave to them. And this is not so easy. It takes courage. And maybe, Joseph, if we go to the previous slide, it takes courage, which in this presentation we mean it as a new spiritual action, a new spiritual act, a renewing, an innovative attitude of strength, not against somebody, not against what happens to us, but against our own habits, our own way of thinking, our own patterns, emotional, our own reactions, instinctive reactions, which have always been directed outwards, blaming others for our problems. No, instead, if we turn inwards and we find this courage, and the root of that word is it's cor, corazón in Spanish, in Latin, the heart. So the heart is exactly where we're going to start. Because in the heart, we can recognize the essence. We can open up to a different force that allows our insight to recognize the imbalance, the fundamental imbalance between those three angles of the triangle. And so it shows us the root of our fears, of our worries, of our anxiety. Whenever we have to relate to somebody, whenever we need to relate to an event or something that happens to us, we respond with a fight or flight mode. How do we come out of that? How do we come out of these mechanisms, these automatic mechanisms, disrupting them, interrupting them? Well, first, as we said, comes the heart. And friends, you have been touched in your heart by this new force. And that force starts to illuminate your perception of what's happening to you. And so there comes first a first-hand self-knowledge, a discernment that illuminates what you observe day in and day out. And you start observing yourselves. You start observing your mechanisms. And perhaps for the first time in your life, even for just a split second, we can start taking responsibility for ourselves. We can start becoming relatively autonomous from these mechanisms, from these automatic reactions. And in that space, in that minimal space of freedom, then choice comes in. The choice to start facing our own fears and shadows. The choice to interrupt those automatic reactive impulses. And so the choice to take responsibility and all, the manifest the all. And it has such a simplicity, even though it's immersing, it's embedded in all that is manifested, and it's also embedded at the center, at the very core of the human being. And Lao Tzu calls it Tao, the way, the path. It indicates us that there is a process. And when we are touched by this spirit spark, then first of all, we go through an awakening. The inner spark offers a starting point to rebuild our organic system, to rebuild it outside of the cycles of action reaction, of continuous automatic reactions to our, as we said, those aspects of our activity in the thoughts, in the emotions, in the feelings, and in our behaviors. It starts restoring balance by touching on the three points of our consciousness: the heart, so feeling and emotions, the thinking faculty, the head, and our behaviors, our patterns of behaviors, starting rebuilding those, reestablishing the fundamental balance, and transforming, therefore, our actions into conscious activity, not anymore lived by our responses, but having the possibility to take or to make a choice